What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's another day, another dollar. I'm on my way to pick up some more paint, and I'll be starting that next painting project from the referral I got from the last one of the video I posted, which is just down the street. It's their parents' house, and they actually bought it from the daughter, so they got a lot of dark colors, and they want to make it lighter, so they picked like a cream color, and every room is just going to be the same color, so that makes it easier on me, one color. So not a big deal. It's just easier for me because I don't have to change out brushes and roller covers, etc. But the only issue I'm going to have probably is that I'm going to have to maybe do either I got to prime the walls, all the walls first, or I got to put on 3 coats of paint is what I'm guessing. Most likely it's not going to be just 2. Anytime you're going from a darker color to a lighter color, it's very rare that it's coats all the way in 2 coats, unless you prime it first. So we'll see what happens. I'm getting more and more people contacting me every week. It just seems to be more and more, but you know, some weeks I'll get like 2 people that contact me in a week, and then other weeks it's 5 or 6, but it's almost 1 a day, roughly. And you know, some people, with everything that's going on now, everybody has all this extra money laying around, what they think is extra money, and then, you know, they want to do something. Like, I get a lot of people lately that want decks, obviously, because everybody's still at home. People were at home more last year, so everybody wants a new deck. But the thing they don't understand is they just don't understand how much it actually costs. You know, they'll want, you know, a 200 square foot deck, and they'll think it costs like $2,000, $3,000. It's like the materials alone are more than that. And that's a big thing that a lot of customers are in shock about when you tell them, well, do you know, have any idea how much it costs to build a deck the size you want to build? You know, that's why you see all these builders in all these homes. When they build these homes, they put these tiny decks on there with just a set of stairs because it's expensive. It's not cheap. You know, you got to get a permit, you have to dig a hole, everything has to be up to code, so it's just a process that most customers just don't understand. So you got to educate them on that and say, hey, this is why it costs what it does. And especially now, because of the cost of materials and how much it all costs right now, it's just insane. So I got the pricing sheet from the place where I get my material from as far as decking, and some of the composite material, the lower grade stuff, is cheaper than cedar decking right now. And I don't know what's going to happen. I heard it's only going to get worse, not get better. So that being said, you know, if you've got people that want to do, for instance, a wood deck, I just keep using that reference because a lot of people right now are just asking about doing a deck. And I don't get a lot of decks. I really don't. I don't, maybe 1 or 2 a year. But I bet you I probably had 10 people already ask about it, and you know, I think once I tell them how much this is actually going to cost, they're like, oh, you know, forget it. But you know, you just have to, at some point you got to tell them the reality of it. You know, I had somebody call me, what was it, last week, and they're like, I want to put up roughly a 500 square foot deck, and I want to do all composite railings and decking. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, do you have any kind of budget in mind for this? And they'll be like, no. And I'll tell them, you're in the north of over $20,000, and they just can't believe it. They think, you know, maybe 10, maybe, but it's like, no, you won't even get close. I mean, you know, that's a big area. But too, you know, I don't get a lot of people that, I think it's just because wintertime, everybody's cooped up, you know, but lately now I've got a lot of painting right in a row. So it's just that I think people are moving around, you know, they're getting outside, and they want to get projects done. But I'm always like, man, it was slow during the wintertime, and now these people are calling me now. It's like a flood of people wanting work done. But hey, I don't care. Don't bother me. I'm not complaining. On his phone. You see that? That's the people don't pay attention. I say that while I'm recording a video, but God, these guys, people are on their phone, they're turning left, going through red light. They don't care. These people don't care. Anyways, that's another thing too. Ask your customer questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Say, hey, Do you got a time frame in mind? Have you investigated doing this project, that project? If it's something big, you know, well, if it's something small too, I guess, but I just keep using, you know, for instance, a deck. You got to show them and explain to them what the reality of the project is and the process that you use, and then they'll have a more idea of why it's so expensive. And then, you know, you got to ask them what their expectations are, you know. Do you want one of the best built decks that you can look at and it looks like it should be in a magazine? You know, or you just want a deck that you can sit on and that you just want a deck. You don't care what the material is, you just want a deck. And you need it built, or you want a bigger deck. You know, you got to find out from people, because, you know, you don't want to say, okay, I can do this for you, and then they're like, oh, that's not what we talked about. This is nothing what I thought it would be, because then you're in a whole world of heap there. And a lot of people will be like, oh, I just want to do wood, which was okay, you know, I'd say 2 years ago, because it was always cheaper. So it's like, okay, if that's what you have to work within your budget, then by all means you're gonna have to do wood. But now you can get, like I said, these lower grade composites are cheaper. Not all of them, but there's a couple that are. And people, you know, I explained it too as, you know, once you put the wood deck up, you're gonna have to stain it every 2-3 years. You know, you're not gonna get a lot of life out of it here. And I stain decks occasionally, but I don't give a warranty. I can't, because I don't know how long it's gonna last. Decks just get beat up, especially wood decks. And some people say they don't care and they've been staining for 30 years, older people, and I say, okay, well, you know, build a wood deck. But, you know, always ask questions, whether it's through email, phone call. Ask these questions before you get out to the job site, because you also, like I said before, you don't want to waste your time. Your time is very, very valuable. So if you ask the right questions, you're getting a feel for the customer and what they want to do, then you can kind of say, okay, let me go out and take a look at it. Or I mean, I can do a lot of estimates now. It takes time and practice, but I can do most of the stuff I feel confident just by looking at pictures. Now, don't get me wrong, you need to get your eyes on it too, because you can't see everything, but you can give them a rough price and say, okay, it's gonna be about this much, and if you would like to, you know, get on our schedule to get the work done, we can set up a time. I'll meet with you, really take an in-depth look at it, and I can give you a really good written up estimate so that we're right on the ball as far as the price. But, you know, it might be something you don't even want to take on. Get there and then be upset, be like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have went there, and this was just a waste of my time, because then you know, you get mad, you take it out on the customer, which isn't right. So ask the right questions, you know, try to feel them out, what they want to do, what their expectations are, and then go from there. And if it's, you know, you think it's worth your time to get out there and look at it, then get out there and look at it. And don't get me wrong, when I first started this, I was running all over the place, because, you know, I wasn't experienced, and, you know, I didn't ask the right questions to the right customers. You know, you got to find out who your ideal customer is too. You know, who's the right customer for you, where you want to walk in there and do this project for them and be happy that you're working there and working on their home. So like I was saying, make sure you know their expectations. You know, for these, I'll use these 2 painting projects as an example. So the first painting project, they had a closing date, and they're like, we want to start on the closing date. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine, but what if that doesn't happen? And it gets pushed back or whatever. You know, you're changing around your whole schedule to accommodate them, which is okay. But you got to realize, you know, you have to make every customer feel like every single customer is the most important one. You have to. So with doing that, I said, okay, no problem, but if the closing date changes, I need to know that as soon as possible. And in reality, if they have a set deadline and that's their expectation, and they want to get started the day of the closing, you know, you don't know, the closing could be at 10, noon, 2, could get pushed back. So that's exactly what happened. It got pushed back, and then they closed almost 2 weeks later. So good thing what I did was I did charge more for it because I had to. What happens, like I just said, if it gets pushed back, which it did, I've changed around my whole schedule to accommodate this painting project. And if you can change it around, great. If you can't, then you can't. You have to just tell them it's unrealistic time frame and I can't do it. That's why you got to have communication with the customer to find that out. But anyways, I did that, changed it all around. It got pushed back. She let me know in a decent amount of time. I think it was like on a Friday that we're gonna close on a Monday. But good thing I charge more, because that's just what you have to do when other projects are on hold and they have a very tight time frame that they're under. You know, it's not the most accommodating for anybody, but ended up working out. The second close date worked out fine, and then there were no issues. But then, you know, I guess by me accommodating them as much as I could, it led me to more work, because it just gave me another painting job right after that was just down the road of their old house. So that's another way to look at it too. Is it worth it to do that all the time? It's hard to say, you know. I mean, I don't know. For this instance, it was, but if you're really super busy, I mean, you gotta be truthful with them too. If you're super busy and you can't do it, you just gotta say, no, that's not realistic. I can't do it that fast. It's gonna be 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 6 weeks or 2 months. I mean, there's guys that are booked out for like 2 months, and they could just be like, okay, fine, no problem. They're not gonna get upset about it and be like, okay, I'll find somebody else. So for me, she did say too, she was having trouble finding somebody. So that was the other thing. So I was, you know, the only one that would accommodate her from what she was talking. Like, she was worried about getting it done before they got everything moved in. So hey, it just worked out for me. Keep all those things in mind. You know, there's just, I mean, you could talk for hours and hours and hours about trying to run a handyman business and the ins and outs and customers and asking questions, and it just, I think you don't, the thing is that people don't understand is that you never stop learning, and there always isn't, you're not always going to get the right answer or the exact answer for everything. Some things you have to figure out on your own. And, you know, we just live in a time in our society where it's like, I don't know the answer, I need the answer, and I'm going to Google it. Or I need the answer, and I don't know how to do this, and I'm just going to YouTube it, and it's going to give me the answer. And that's fine. And that's part of the reason why I'm doing a YouTube channel, so that, you know, I can make it easier for people to do stuff like that. But in the same sense, there's some things that you're going to have to learn on your own that's going to teach you to be a better handyman. It's going to teach you to run your business better. That everybody's not going to have the exact answer, because everybody's business is completely different. Not one handyman business that I know of or seen or guys that have talked about it runs the same. There's so many different things, different vehicles you're driving, the amount of gas you're using, how far you're traveling, the demographics you live within, the equipment that you have. I mean, it's everything. There's not one business that runs the same. So, you know, a lot of guys that are just starting out, yeah, for sure, ask questions by all means, and everybody should be there to help you out. If there's people that you're asking questions that are being jerks about and they don't want to help you out, well, screw them. Go somewhere else. Ask somebody else then, because they should want to help you and help you grow. But anyways, asking questions is good, but there are some things that you're going to have to figure out on your own. You're going to make mistakes. I still make mistakes. Everybody does all the time. But you got to learn some things on your own, because nobody knows how your business is going to operate but you. That's how you're going to know. So you're going to have to do that and figure it out. You know, I don't know how else to put it. You're just going to have to figure some things out on your own. But once you do, then you're like, all right, cool, I figured that out. You'll know what to do from here on out, and it'll just get easier, and you'll save a little more time. You'll be a little more confident. And I've said it before, but you know, some things, you know, if you're like a finish carpenter, you're doing the same thing every single day. Boom, 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 boom. So you just got it down. You don't even got to think about it. But when people got these weird, quirky situations that happen on their house, and it happens all the time. If you own a home, you know how it is, because you run into situations like that all the time, where it's like, oh, so-and-so calls you and they need this or that done. Sometimes you just got to try to figure it out and troubleshoot it, you know? It's not always going to be like, oh, I got this piece of trim and I got to fix it and replace it right now. sometimes you gotta figure it out and you'll learn from it and you'll be experienced in it, and then the next time a customer asks you, it'll be that much easier. And there's another Facebook group page that I'm on, like a handyman group, and you know, you get a lot of the same questions all the time, and a lot of guys get pissed off because they're like, oh, we get this question how many times a day or a week or blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, well, you get mad, well, who cares? Who cares? These guys are new. You were new at one time. You wanted to learn. They want to learn. They're just starting out. They don't want to make any mistakes. Hey, help them out. You know, make each other better. Don't make each other worse. And I feel like some people like want to hold this information like it's some secretive thing. Like, oh, we can't tell you that. It's like, dude, just who cares? You're helping them learn, run their own business. All right, I'm about to this house, so I don't want to keep rambling on, but hopefully, you know, you guys that are in the handyman business maybe learn something about what I was trying to say. And I've said it on plenty of my videos too. Not everybody does everything the same, and that's okay. There's not only one way to do everything. There's a million different ways to do a million different things. It's the other thing, people get so bent out of shape. They're like, oh, no, you only do it this way. Well, don't tell me. There's a million ways to do things. Just remember that. Advice is great, but too much advice can be not so great. So everybody, get out there, hustle and grind, make some money. The handyman business is going to be here to stay for a really, really long time. The trades is not going anywhere. Everybody needs to get their house worked on, and you can really be successful at it if you work hard. If you got any questions, drop them in that comment section below. Hit that bell for notifications. Subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up. You know, if you got something to add to it, what I said, drop them in the comments. Let me know. All right, guys, I'm out of here.